Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Souris Town Council, Tuesday, October the 14th, 2025 at 2 p.m. in Council Chambers. So first off is the approval of the agenda, and are there any late items? Mrs. Coulson, thank you. So could we have the approval of the agenda as printed? Thank you. Councillor Bennett, Councillor Chong, all in favor? Thank you. And the adoption of some minutes, the regular open minutes from September the 9th, 2025. Could we have a motion to adopt those, please? Councillor King, Councillor Poderica, all in favor? Thank you very much. So we're now going to turn to a public meeting, public hearing, and I'm going to read, we have two of them, so I will read the opening remarks for the first public hearing. This is a public hearing pertaining to amendments to the town's official community plan, OCP, to ensure statutory compliance with the Local Government Act as it relates to housing needs reports in small-scale multi-use housing. In accordance with Section 646 of the Local Government Act, this public hearing is convened to allow interested parties to make representation to Council respecting Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw number 1375.09, 2025. Every person present who believes that their interests are affected by the proposed bylaw will be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard. We will hear from staff on the matter, then receive public input, then Council will deliberate the issue before the public hearing adjourns. So I'm going to ask now for is there a presentation from staff on this? Thank you. Please go ahead.
Great, thank you so much. So just to start off with just some quick background, in 2023, the Local Government Act was amended to facilitate the provision of small-scale multi-unit housing. So one of the most prominent changes that we saw throughout the province was this imposition of minimum density requirements that local governments had to permit through zoning. So we refer to that as phase 1 of small-scale multi-unit housing implementation. The second phase relates to pre-zoning, which is required in order to meet housing needs projections which have been identified under housing needs reports, which have been accepted by local governments. So specifically, local governments must pre-zone to provide for at least the 20-year total number of housing units, which are required to meet the anticipated housing needs identified under the most recent, as I mentioned, housing needs report, by having in place supportive official community plan bylaw statements and map designations, as well as supportive zoning permitted uses and associated density of those uses. Additionally, it is required under the Local Government Act that official community plans include housing policies respecting each class of housing needs report housing needs that are required to be addressed. So the town of Vesuvius had received its most recent housing needs report back in on February 11th, 2025, which had identified a housing needs forecast of 1,018 units over the next 20 years as being required. Now, in order to support staff and the town in meeting the legislative requirements, as well as getting a better baseline understanding of what our current situation is, a zoning capacity analysis was completed by Urban Systems back in June 2025 in order to determine what the existing official community plan and zoning capacity was in town. So essentially, what number of units could actually be developed within the town based on the current OCP designations and zoning designations. And the number that they came to was 6,376 units based on current OCP and zoning. So as it relates to our compliance with statutory requirements, given that our existing capacity exceeds the identified 20-year housing needs that was stipulated under the housing needs report, we don't require any OCP or zoning amendments in order to pre-zone across the town to meet that 20-year projection. However, we do require changes to the OCP bylaw in order to include housing policies that speak to the different classes of housing needs that need to be addressed under the most recent housing needs report. With that being said, draft OCP amendment bylaw number 1375.09 does propose to introduce a new section under section 6.b on provincial direction, which specifically speaks to the new housing needs report related requirements that are set out under the Local Government Act. And it outlines the findings of our most recent housing needs report from 2024, including that 5-year and 20-year housing needs projections. Additionally, in order to meet the statutory requirements, we are proposing changes to the policy section by collapsing the policy subsections into one overall broad subsection and tying in the housing needs report into that language. Additionally, we are proposing new policies to be included, which would speak to supporting a variety of housing types and tenures to represent the various housing needs as set out in the housing needs report. Within the urban containment area where we do have the necessary infrastructure, essential amenities, and services in place to accommodate that growth. New policies are being proposed, which would support the creation of a favorable regulatory environment as well to help overcome those barriers to housing construction. And lastly, new policies are being proposed with respect to housing and homelessness to advocate to the province that improvements are made to the development approval process through updates to the Local Government Act. And lastly, amendments are being proposed to the projects list under section 9.0 to update that list based on the progress that has been made since the OCP was put in place. So just as a quick summary, the proposed amendments to the official community plan are limited to the introduction of housing needs report related information and policies, which address the requirements set out under section 473.1 sub 4 of the Local Government Act. And as part of this project, there are no changes that are being proposed to the zoning bylaw. So no changes are currently being proposed to increase density allowed throughout the town. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we will now receive input on the public hearing matter. And we have had one written representation has been received, and it's from Greg Larson, and that has been included in the agenda. So I will now call upon those who have registered to speak. When your name is called, please start by stating your name and address. Then you will be provided with 5 minutes to speak. Please state whether you are for or against the OCP amendments and your reason why. Each speaker may speak only once. Council may only hear comments directly related to the proposed OCP amendment, bylaw amendments. If speakers discuss matters that do not pertain to the proposed bylaw, they will be interrupted and asked to restrict their comments to the bylaws. We ask that others in attendance be respectful of proper meeting conduct by not applauding or speaking out of turn. I will start with those in person, then we will hear from people online, should they have, should there be somebody on there. And do we have a speakers list?
Your Worship, nobody is registered to speak in person. I'm just going to check with the participant online.
No?
That's for
Okay.
the second one.
So
Correct.
it's not for this one. So is there anyone online who wishes to speak?
Just going to check. Darcy online, are you registered to speak?
No. So hearing that no one wishes to speak, I will call for the first time. Is there anyone in attendance who wishes to speak on this particular bylaw? I'll ask for a second time. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? And for a third and final time, is there anyone who wishes to speak? So the speakers list is now closed. I'll ask staff if they have any other information they'd like to stay at this time. Thank you very much. Council, any questions from any of the councillors? Okay, the public hearing is now adjourned. Council may, without further notice, give whatever effect council believes proper to the representations made at this hearing. Council members will not speak to the public further on this matter until it has been considered at a convened public meeting of council. Thank you to everyone who attended. So we will now move on to, the second public hearing. Am I correct?
Does council wish to do the vote on the third
The
reading
vote,
first?
you want to do the vote now? All right, that's in the council report. And would you like to say anything about this council report, or because we have a recommended motion, right?
Aside from the presentation that was given, I don't have any other further context to provide on this item, but it is administration's recommendation that the OCP amendment bylaw be given third reading and adopted.
Thank you very much. Now, did you have a question?
No, I'm just moving.
Yes, you're moving it.
Yeah.
You're seconding it.
Yeah.
So it's been moved and seconded. Anybody else wish to speak on this? So the motion is that it be read a third time and adopted. All in favor? Thank you very much. All right, now we'll go on to the second public hearing. And this is a public hearing pertaining to amendments to the town's official community plan and zoning bylaw that addressed issues identified through the day-to-day use of these bylaws. In accordance with Section 464 of the Local Government Act, this public hearing is convened to allow interested parties to make representation to council respecting official community plan amendment number 1375.08, 2025, and the zoning amendment bylaw number 1395.06, 2025. Every person present who believes that their interests are affected by the proposed bylaws will be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard. We will hear from staff on the matter, then receive public input. Then council will deliberate the issue before the public hearing adjourns. I will now ask staff if there is a presentation on this matter. There is. Good.
Yes, there
Thank
is.
you very much. Go ahead.
Great. So through the mayor, so as indicated in the introduction, there's a variety of amendments to the official community plan and the zoning bylaw. These are generally a result of day-to-day use where we've identified gaps, ambiguities, unintended consequences that weren't evident during the drafting of the bylaw. And these amendments address some of those. So I'll start with the official community plan. And I think one of the major changes here is in relation to the language around exemptions for utilities in the environmentally sensitive DP. So this would be the riparian and also the environmentally sensitive DP, two separate ones. The current exemption is a little ambiguous in terms of the extent that utilities are exempt, as well as what is meant by the consideration for ecosystems and their functions once those have been considered. So we're proposing to clarify that and to broaden, if you will, the exemption for utilities. So it's not just non-municipal, it's municipal and non-municipal, and also removing the ambiguity around the environmental exemption. The second part of the OCP amendments is map change. So as council is aware, the Southeast Meadowlark plan, as a condition of approval for that, the Land ALC, Agricultural Land Commission, required that a separate parcel be removed from the town's urban containment boundary, which is part of its commitment to the regional growth strategy. This is the particular parcel here. It's approximately 4 hectares in the ALR, used for agricultural purposes, and the commission wants it removed from the urban containment area, so that will happen. The other boundary adjustments are related to 2 parcels that were incorporated within the town. That process was completed in 2024. When council adopted the new zoning bylaw last year, the zoning maps were updated to include these 2 parcels, but the OCP maps have not been. So all the map schedules to the OCP will be updated to include these parcels. And I've also put a note under the last dot point here, just as in recognition that the items on map 4 are being updated, and we're asking council to amend at third reading to address just a correction that we identified on that particular map. This is just a close-up of the parcels. The illustrative example of here is from the future land use designations, which I believe is map 2 of the OCP, and it just shows how we're going to be incorporating those parcels within the town boundary, and that'll happen for all the additional maps as well. In relation to the medium density residential designation, we're proposing some changes to the text. Currently, it's a very hard, no more than 75 units per hectare, which presents a bit of a challenge when confronted with applications seeking to go above 75 units per hectare because there is no other residential density other than MR. So it raises a question of how do we deal with those? Could create a new designation, or what we're proposing here is that the language be redrafted. It's not so hard. provides council with some flexibility, and it's approximately 75 per hectare should generally be what's occurring in that designation. We feel this is beneficial. Going over to the zoning bylaw, I think the big one here are changes to off-street parking requirements in the downtown area, particularly recognizing a lot of parcels in this area might have parcel coverages that are getting close to 100%, and there's simply not enough land on the parcel to provide vehicle parking. So if there's a change of use, but there's no increase in floor area, the exemption would not require additional parking if that change of use happens to trigger it. If, however, a parcel is being demolished or cleared and a new structure being put in, that exemption wouldn't apply. Some miscellaneous ones clarifying subdivision requirements in the RS1 zone. There's been some questions around the 225 for the stratification of a building and whether that applies to land. And then also just clarifying that public storage and maintenance is a permitted use in the general industrial zone, recognizing that those are already occurring on some parcels zoned I1. So the intent was not to render them non-compliant with the zoning bylaw last year. So this will correct that. And that's it for the proposed changes.
Thank you very much. And so we will now receive input on the public hearing matter, and we have no written representations that have been received. But I will now call upon those who have registered to speak. When your name is called, please start by stating your name and address. Then you will be provided with 5 minutes to speak. Please state whether you are for or against the OCP and zoning amendments and your reasons why. Each speaker may only speak once. Council may only hear comments directly related to the proposed OCP and zoning bylaw amendments. If speakers discuss matters that do not pertain to the proposed bylaws, they will be interrupted and asked to restrict their comments to the bylaws. We ask that others in attendance be respectful of proper meeting conduct by not applauding or speaking out of turn. And I will start with those in person, then we will hear from those online. And I will ask if there are any speakers on the speaker list.
Yes, we have Eileen McGinn on the speakers list.
Please come forward, Mrs. McGinn. Yes, you do, for people to hear that are online, for sure. There's a yellow light flashing, so maybe it's not going to last.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Eileen McGinn, 9-4110 36th Avenue, Soyuz. Just wanted a couple of clarification on the small scale. You were talking about the RS1 zoning, Chris, and it's really unclear because there's two manuals out. There's one that was online today for the new official community plan that shows the 2023-2024 version. It's got the old pictures with Brian Harvey and that in it, and you added the 2025 stuff to it. But then there was a newer one that came out in January that, because the new one that was online today with the meeting notes doesn't list all of the different zones. Yeah, so it doesn't list RS1 and that. But some of the questions that have been asked around town in the real estate industry is what Chris just mentioned there, the minimum parcel size, the 2.25 is only 2,421 square feet in a lot size. Is that, I know we're not supposed to ask questions, but it's just something I wanted them to clarify because I know you said you were going to try to clarify it in that.
Chris, are you okay with answering the questions as they go along? Because Mrs. McGinn may have more. So do you want to answer this one first?
Well, I'm happy to, but just recognizing that really it's not a question and answer session. You're supposed
Yeah.
to
No,
your position.
yeah, no, and it
So
was,
it
it
would have
was,
been ideal if this had been asked before the public hearing, and we might have been able to get you some clarification on it.
yeah, because a lot of people are asking it, it seems like an awful small lot and the only lots, I mean, 225 square meters is the purpose of the proposal for the subdivisions and minimum parcel size, which is only 2,421 square feet. So I think that's something that's been overlooked.
I think what probably you should do is just ask the questions that you have today, and we'll make note of them all, and then either you can talk to the planner after, or yeah, thanks. Go ahead. Thank you.
Several times. And then the other thing is on the small scale residential. Oh, there we go. Okay. The other question on the RS1 zoning. Current subdivisions, there's a couple of current subdivisions. One particularly, I live in Sonora Ridge. Our lots are probably in around the 4,000, 5,000 square feet. So then you get Meadowlark that's running around, 3,000 to 4,500 square feet. So it gets a little confusing on what is the specified minimum size and what should be the maximum size, and whether existing subdivisions are going to fall under all of these new guidelines that the province has brought to us. So, example, in Sonora Ridge, we've got 2 people that are applying for a permit. So under the new zoning bylaw of the province, we would only be allowed to build 50% of lot coverage. And it wouldn't necessarily apply. Same thing with the subdivisions over at Meadowlark, it wouldn't apply. So I just wanted somebody to take a look at the minimum parcel size that the province has required. I think they might have made an error on it. And that's it, but thanks, you guys doing a great job. Appreciate all you do for the town.
Thank you very much for that. I will just see if there's anyone else that has any, is there anyone else on the speakers list? No, is there anyone online that's wanting to ask a question or speak?
Calling again for Darcy online. Are you interested in speaking at this public hearing?
No? Okay, thank you. So I'm going to ask 3 times. Is there sorry? I'll do that, yeah. So I have to go through this legally. So for the first time, is there anyone who wishes to speak on this matter? For the second time, is there anyone who wishes to speak? And for the third time, is there anyone who wishes to speak? Hearing none, the speakers list is now closed. And we will ask staff if there's anything that they wish to respond to any of the new material raised during this hearing.
Just for clarification and through the mayor. So my understanding is the council previously considered the issue around parcel coverage in relation to the RS1 zone at a meeting a month or 2 back. No further direction was provided, as in not to address that at this time. And the changes in relation to the RS1 zone are simply to clarify that the 225 square meters was always intended to apply to the strata subdivision of a duplex, the building, not to the land. So if there's confusion out there, it's because people are looking at the smaller parcel size and wondering if they can do that for a fee simple subdivision. No, that wasn't the intent. It was for the stratification of a building.
Thank you. So that would, if somebody still has a concern, likely they should phone planning and find out for sure. Okay, so I will ask council if anybody here has a question. Go ahead, Councillor King.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted clarity. You talked about those 2 properties on 45th coming into town. The zoning doesn't change, so it stays agricultural, right?
Correct.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that has? No? So my assumption is that we are going to the recommended, sorry, go ahead.
So it's brought to our attention that there needs some updated on the website. Now, will that get done? Like, that adds confusion. Sounds like that the conversation, there's 2 ways of looking at what's presented. Some is land, some is building. So I think there has to be real clarity on the website under that. I don't know who does it, but.
No, Mr. Resling, do you have anything to say on that, or Mrs. Coulson? Okay, well, we can certainly look at that, but I don't know whether we can deal with that right now.
Well, I guess it's part of the presentation that was brought to our attention. So is it advisable for us to contact the province to try to get clarity at least?
Go ahead.
So what I heard is people who misunderstand the town's bylaws. And if they misunderstand the town's bylaws, the best thing they can do is contact staff and we can clarify it for them.
Okay. You okay?
And I guess, is there one specific person they would contact? Because two staff people could have two different opinions.
Through the mayor, I would hope not.
The planning department likely we should have the same opinion.
Yes, we should.
Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Chong.
This might be a little bit outside the scope of today's conversation, but really is this clarity on maximum parcel coverage. What is our current maximum parcel coverage in RS1?
Does it
It's
depend?
50%.
And why do we need a maximum parcel coverage?
Well, it's generally, sorry, I don't have it at my fingertips because this isn't actually part of the hearing, but basically it's just part of the suite of building envelope regulations that you'll find in most zones. And the reasons for those are varied. It could relate to privacy, overshadowing, build form, streetscape, provision of adequate amenity space depending on the use, vehicle parking spaces. So if you allow for a full parcel coverage similar to the public hearing in relation to the parking issues, then you potentially run out of space to deal with some of the issues that are required on a parcel, right? So.
Okay with that? I think the whole thing
Yeah.
definitely is confusing, especially when the province comes out with updated things. I see we just got a letter from the Minister of, I've forgotten what it was today. I read something earlier today, and it can be kind of confusing. So my thinking is are we got all the information that we need for today's recommendation?
Through the mayor, so I at a staff level, I believe that you do. And
Okay.
if I'm recalling from the previous discussion around this issue raised at the public hearing, 50%, which is what the town currently has, is on the high end, is an equivalent to what all the other member municipalities in the South Okanagan apply to their equivalent of that zone. Nobody's higher than 50%.
Okay. All right, so we're going to go back to the public meeting, if there are no other questions, is now adjourned, and council may without further notice give whatever effect council believes proper to the representations made at this hearing. Council members may not speak to the public further on this matter until after it has been considered at a convened public meeting of council. Thank you for everyone who attended the public hearing. So we are now going to look at the recommended motion. Am I correct? Good. That the official community plan amendment bylaw number 1375.08, 2025 zoning amendment bylaw number 1395.06, 2025 subdivision and development servicing amendment bylaw number 100.02, and land use procedures bylaw number 1235.10 be read a third time. That's what we're doing? All right. Is there someone who would like to make that motion? Thank you. Councillor Potterica, seconder. Councillor Chong, all in favor. Thank you very much, everyone. All right, that part of the meeting is now finished, and we will now go on to staff reports, and that is on the Local Government Act exemption request. I believe is that you, Mr. Garish? Okay, thank you very much. Go ahead.
Sure, thank you. I'll just wait for the PowerPoint. Okay, so this is a very uncommon request that's before council today. So as the mayor indicated, there's this, actually, I'll just jump ahead here. There is a statutory requirement, which I'll get to in a moment, but I just want to provide some context or overview for the parcel that's under application. And so the location is 11646, which I wanted to highlight because I believe in the recommendation in your staff report, it might reference 11648, but in preparing and checking the mapping system today, it came up as 646. 115th Street, designated under the OCP for industrial purposes. Current zoning is general industrial with a site-specific allowance. Parcel size is 4 hectares. It is within the town's growth containment area. As far as I'm aware, it's serviced by water and sewer. And the current use is a gravel processing operation and also, I believe, a concrete batching plant, despite the typo there. So this would be the Osoyoos aggregate site. In terms of statutory requirements, the Local Government Act specifies that any new parcel to be created by subdivision has to have a perimeter to a road that doesn't go less than 10% of the overall perimeter of the parcel. A local government may specify a higher requirement if need be, but the town has not through its zoning bylaw, so it relies on the provincial 10% requirement. If a parcel is unable to meet this requirement, similar to a floodplain exemption, the applicant can come to council and ask to be exempted from this requirement of the Local Government Act as well. And that's what's happened in this instance. The property owner is proposing a 2-lot subdivision. It's an approximately 4-hectare parcel size. Lot B proposed is going to be 2 hectares. Lot A, which is the one that's the subject of the application, is going to be 1.91 hectares in area. And you can see on the screenshot at right, the red dashed line is showing the frontage of that proposed new parcel to 1/15th. And according to the surveyor who's prepared the survey plan, that frontage represents approximately 4.53% of the perimeter of the whole of lot A. So it doesn't meet the 10% requirement. And so they're asking for council to grant that exemption so that that parcel can be created with 4.53% instead. So just some regulatory background in terms of how planning staff understand this requirement of the Act and what it's trying to achieve. And I think for the most part, it's related to traffic and infrastructure. So ensuring that each new parcel created by subdivision is provided with a safe, accessible, serviceable frontage to a road, and that frontage, if the parcel is large enough, could allow for further orderly development to occur, and that you're getting away from maybe undesirable parcel sizes being created as a result, ones with very narrow frontages to a road. In addition, ensuring a proper frontage aids in vehicle access, not least of which would be for emergency vehicles, and also that future subdivision, if the parcel is large enough, is retained, because if that frontage is too small, that back portion of the parcel might become unusable in terms of redevelopment purposes. So having considered that in relation to the proposed context that's before you today, staff determined that even with that reduced 4.53% frontage, that still equals 20 meters, which is a fairly large frontage to the road. Internal referrals were done. No concerns were raised by fire or operations staff in terms of emergency vehicle access or future provision of infrastructure. It doesn't appear that a reduced frontage is going to adversely impact the use or access to other parcels in the area. And in terms of looking at future road connections from available plans, primarily the OCP, there are no future connections at this location. So a reduced road frontage is not going to impact expansions or additions to the road network. And this is just an image that was in the report, and I believe it's from the applicant's submission, at least the bottom image is, showing where those proposed current accesses are, and I believe that those would be retained for the future new lots once subdivided. So considerations for council, the conversely statement, if you will, the opposite side of it. There are other options available to the applicant, such as reducing the size of the parcel in order to get to the 10% requirement and avoiding this exemption request. So that is available. And then also, if there is a thought that, recognizing that the industrial zone allows for 1,000 square meter parcel sizes, and these parcels are upwards of 2 hectares, that there could be there could be future subdivision potential. A 10% parcel frontage would facilitate potential future subdivision. But as I said in the previous slide, we recognize certainly in relation to Lot A that there are topographical challenges. So in light of all that, there are basically the usual 2 options for council to consider approving this and allowing the 4.53% or to not, in which case the application would be denied. But for the reasons outlined in the previous slide, staff feel that this is not an unreasonable request. It's not going to adversely impact the usual considerations for these types of frontage issues. And so we're recommending approval. And that's it for my slide.
Thank you very much. That was explained well. Go ahead.
I move option 1.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Thank you. Councillor Bennett, seconding. You have a question?
Yes, I do. They're not really changing the 2 entrances, are they? No.
No. Okay, so I will call the question. All in favor? Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to the next one, which is a zoning bylaw. Number 1395, am I correct? Yes, 09. My page numbers here and my page numbers here are different, so I have to be careful. So Chris, are you going to deal with this one? Oh, Shannon. Okay, go ahead, please, Shannon.
Thank you. So this item relates to a rezoning application involving a property at 5601 56th Street. The OCPM designation that currently applies to the property is medium density residential, and the zoning is medium density residential 1. The parcel is 2,770 square meters in area, and it is located within a growth containment area. So just as a bit of context, a building permit has been issued for a 3-story 19-unit apartment building for this property, and construction is currently underway. So the applicant is proposing to develop the property to a 24-unit apartment building, so just 5 units greater than what is currently being constructed. Just to speak to the regulatory context behind this, so for the medium density residential OCP designation that applies to the property, this designation supports multifamily development, so in the form of apartments, townhouses, community care facilities, and plex type developments. And this would be to densities of 75 units per hectare. Additionally, the OCP does include broader housing policies that speak to encouraging a mix of housing types to provide for lower cost options within the town. Now, the medium density residential 1 or RM1 zoning that applies to the property permits, at least as it relates to this particular application, apartment building, and permits a maximum density of 75 dwelling units per hectare. So when you calculate out based on the parcel size and that density proportion, there's a maximum of 20 dwelling units that can be developed on this property. Therefore, rezoning would be required in order to allow for 24 dwelling units. So with that in mind, the applicant is requesting to amend the zoning of the property under the zoning bylaw from medium density residential 1 to medium density residential 1 site specific, with a proposed site specific allowance to increase the maximum permitted density from 75 dwelling units per hectare to 87 dwelling units per hectare, which is kind of the calculation that is required to allow for 24 dwelling units on the property. So just some considerations for council when rendering their decision. The proposal is generally seen to be consistent with the town's official community plan bylaw, although it does exceed that supported density for medium density residential lands of 75 dwelling units per hectare. As mentioned, the OCP does encourage a mix of housing types in order to provide for lower cost options. So this is typically seen in the form of multifamily developments. And additionally, providing a range of housing does ensure that individuals of diverse demographic groups throughout the town in various life stages are able to live at a high quality of life. The OCP bylaw emphasizes that there is little land available for development within the town, and the lands that are available should therefore be used effectively and efficiently where it is feasible. One of the things that is looked at, of course, is the feasibility of the infrastructure system to support this increase in density. However, an increase of 4 additional dwelling units beyond what is currently permitted by zoning is not seen to impose such a burden on the existing system. On the other hand, although we do see this request to be fairly minor in nature, council may wish to maintain that existing density cap, as granting these types of minor exceptions to zoning regulations could encourage similar requests to come in, which would ultimately undermine the intent of that zoning regulation. So with all this in mind, we are asking council for their direction in relation to this application as to whether or not to give further readings to the amendment bylaw, and our administrative recommendation is that council do give first, second, and third reading to amendment bylaw number 1395.09. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead. Myers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a couple of questions. I just drove by the other day and the roof is already on top of this building. And the second thing, what about the parking? Is that going to make the parking is being considered, and are they just going to take, I think it's great to have 4 extra units. If they're just doing under that same roof, they're just redesigning some of the inside.
Yes, so the way I understand it, the current floor plan contains predominantly 2-bedroom layouts. There are 5 suites which currently have 4-bedroom layouts. However, essentially they could build a wall in between the 2 and the 2 within the 4-bedroom units. So that would essentially create 5 additional 2-bedroom units, if that makes sense. So no structural changes are required to the exterior of the building in order to facilitate this. It's just interior. And then in relation to parking, that was calculated as part of the preliminary review process of the rezoning application. So they are sufficient.
Okay, thank you. In that case, I'll move number 1.
Okay, that's the recommended motion that it be read a first, second, and third time? Is there seconding that? Is there anyone else that has any concerns, questions? Okay, all in favor? Thank you very much. Okay. Where are we now? To look back here, 154. The wind's coming up, Jim. Blowing my pages. Okay, we're going to look at the delegation of council authority. Is that where we're at? Good, okay. Go ahead, please, Chris.
Sure. So through the mayor, with the benefit of an item 2 previous on your agenda, we now have a proposal to seek delegation for dealing with these minimum parcel frontages to a highway from council to staff. And so I'll just run through that in my presentation here. So a lot of this will be familiar based on that previous application or request you just dealt with for the exemption. So it is a statutory requirement, and applicants are required to meet it. And if they can't, they can seek a resolution from council exempting them. But the Act also allows for council to delegate that authority to staff. And so I've got some additional background here, but I put this PowerPoint together before I had to do the other one, and I know we just talked about a lot of these same issues with the actual request. So I won't go over too much of it, but as council is aware, it's a requirement to ensure basic access and infrastructure can be provided to these new parcels. You generally want to encourage people to have adequate frontage to a highway. This is why the Act sets out the 10%. The town, through its zoning bylaw, has not set a different standard, which I think is not unreasonable or uncommon. I think most local governments rely on the 10%. In terms of delegating this at a staff level to the approving officer, there's a benefit to that in that really it could be argued that it's a technical exercise in terms of getting referral comments from emergency services, operations, is there sufficient space for pipes, driveway access, easements, et cetera, et cetera. Removing these from the council agenda, although recognizing they don't come up that often, would allow council to focus on more strategic land use issues at its meetings. Also, as well, when council's asked to look at these exemptions, you're only getting a very small sliver of the subdivision before you. You're not seeing the whole picture. And so you're being asked to make a decision on something that doesn't reflect the broader subdivision that's being undertaken. Whereas if it's delegated to the approving officer, that is something they would be looking at in the whole context of the subdivision. And then finally, delegation would allow for a streamlining of the application process, particularly if it's a time in the year when council's not meeting twice a month. Or there's challenges with scheduling. If it's delegated, staff can deal with it as part of the processing of the subdivision application itself. Conversely, though, council may wish, if it wants to retain this, that it does allow for it to review these requests when they come in and to apply a different lens than, say, the approving officer might. And then also, arguably, there would be greater transparency because these decisions around such exemptions are made in a public meeting where people can participate, whereas if it's delegated to staff, generally, unless the applicant asks for reconsideration by council, it's just going to be dealt with as part of that processing of the subdivision application. So those are the considerations. The options, as per usual, council could consider giving first, second, and third reading to this exemption bylaw, or if council's of an opinion that it wishes to retain this authority for itself, status quo, in which case the bylaw is not given a reading. Staff are recommending that the bylaw proceed, but of course, it's up to council, and I'm happy to try to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Anybody have any questions? Councillor King.
I have a question. I got a question to staff. I can see support in this moving forward, but if there was a small change, would you give council aware of these changes? Or how do we find out after the fact?
Mr. Risling, are you answering that? Or I think it was addressed to you, not to Chris.
Well, I was going to delegate to town staff to
So typically when things are done at a staff level and it's delegated, we typically don't bring things forward to council. Although there is a process that is a little bit more transparent in our quarterly reviews that provide an update as to what transpired in the planning area.
No clarity. I'm not asking you to bring it to council. I'm asking if you'd made a decision, you'd make us aware of that decision.
Yep. So the closest it would get to is in the quarterly updates. Like if something's delegated to administration, we typically proceed. If it's something that the council would like to be informed of. One of my concerns is, however, because this doesn't happen very often, if it happened I might say yes today, we would do it. Then in 5 years down the road, there may not be the trigger to actually put it on, let's just say, the CAO update. So that's one of the struggles with things that happen once in 10, 15 years.
Well, I guess you're telling me they hardly ever happen, so it wouldn't be a big deal to inform us that you made some decision.
So I agree, there isn't a big issue. The problem is process. There are some things that we've done even over the past 2 or 3 years as far as exceptions to our process. Various things like on utilities, which it's caused a problem because it's not part of the regular process, or it's done so infrequently. It's hard to just actually remember that step. So it's not as if we'd want to not inform council as far as keeping it undercover. It's just when something doesn't occur that often, it's not part of a daily routine or a monthly routine, it's difficult to bring it forward. I can say that, as part of our quarterly updates from administration, some of that information could be included there. But again, when it's something that's so infrequent, it's difficult to actually bring forward. I mean, it is still a public process, but bring it to council, it's just gonna be difficult to do.
Jim, I think that at the last meeting, I asked a very similar question. Would there be a time that the approving officer would say, I'm not sure, and bring it to council if it was fairly straightforward? And they agreed that there might be that possibility if they weren't quite sure how to deal with it.
Okay, I'm not looking for the detail of the decision. I'm just looking that there was a decision made to do something. It could be a simple email to mayor and staff.
So sure, I can say I will. How long am I going to be here? There you go. Okay.
Okay, thank you. So we're looking at the recommended motion that this SUIS delegation of subdivision parcel frontage exemption bylaw number 1404/2025 be read a first, second, and third time. Pardon?
A question.
Yes, go ahead.
So let's say these 1 in every decade cases do pop up and the delegating authority denied the exemption. Is there an appeals process which the party of interest would then come forward to council, or is it just boom, done?
Go ahead.
So I believe, and we're just quickly trying to pull up the land use procedures bylaw, that there's a standard reconsideration provision in the bylaw, or a bylaw. It even could be under your CAO delegation bylaw. But usually when a delegated decision is to deny, the person who's made that request has the ability to appeal it to council, but I think it requires a submission of a written request, and then staff have to prepare it for a forthcoming meeting, and then it's brought forward. And I suspect as part of that, you're presented with the delegated authority's decision, the request to appeal, and then you're asked to do a reconsideration. So.
Seems to me that there's always the option for somebody who doesn't agree with what's happened to come to council and ask for a reconsideration. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to make to clarify the process just for transparency. With that said, I would like to move option 1.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Poderica, all in favor? Thank you very much. Okay, next. The Land Use Procedures Bylaw Amendment, Postal Work Stoppage. That's Mr. Garish again.
Great, thank you. So, as I'm sure council is aware, and not the first time within the last 12 months, but we're in the middle of another postal stoppage. So of course, for land use applications, this presents a particular challenge because of notification requirements under the Local Government Act. There's usually a requirement for amendments to an official community plan or a zoning bylaw and certain types of permits such as development variance permits and temporary use permits for the town to send out written notices to residents and property owners within a specified radius that council has chosen. Either notifying of a public hearing or notifying of council's consideration of that permit, so that people who feel they have an interest in that permit are aware that you're going to be making a decision and they can convey to you their, as we heard today, support or opposition and the reasons why to whatever that particular application is proposing. So of course, when there's a work stoppage by Canada Post, a lot of those applications then proceed or don't proceed until the stoppage is over. Especially when there's a 60-meter radius, it presents a bit of a challenge. It's not to say it's insurmountable, because of course there's other options available potentially in order to get that written notification out to property owners. One of which you can see here is that, you know, letters could be delivered by hand by staff, which is easy if it's in town to tenants or residents who live on the property. And conversely, if it's a resident or sorry, property owner who lives elsewhere outside of town, then courier services may be an option as well in order to satisfy that statutory requirement. What we're proposing in order to help facilitate that type of delivery during a Canada Post work stoppage is that even though council has previously directed staff to apply a 60-meter radius to this notification, that during a work stoppage, that radius is reduced. And that really is just applied to immediately adjacent parcels so that it's easier for us to make sure that we can continue to progress applications in a timely manner, and that we are, if not notifying as broadly as we normally would, that we are still notifying those people probably most affected by the proposal, which is adjacent neighbors. And so during a work stoppage, that radius be reduced to immediately adjacent parcels only. Hand delivery, courier if necessary, but also as a backup that we use the town's electronic notice system to distribute notifications about these permits and bylaw as well, in case people pick it up that way. And so I've just got an illustrative example to show you just how that might work during a postal strike. So using the town building here, if there's per se an application, we had to notify it. We would currently get the mapping system used by town staff to set a 60-meter radius, and it would automatically generate a mailing list for us. And you can see here all the properties within 60 meters. However, if council is supportive of the amendments before you currently, and we are in the middle of a work stoppage, that radius would be reduced to immediately adjacent parcels. So it goes from this to this. And then once the work stoppage is over, we would go back to the 60 meters and get the broader one. So two options, council could choose to proceed with the amendments or status quo, in which case I suspect until the stoppage is over, we would have to wait before we could progress applications that require public notice. So.
Okay, thank you. Phone calls don't work. No, can't do it that way. Okay. I just wondered,
Yeah.
on some occasions, whether, yeah. Okay, because if somebody was out of town, they lived out of town, a phone might work better. However, if that's not the case, what happens right now, the postal service is sort of going back to work, but they're having rotating strikes. That still causes the same problem, right? Because you can't guarantee.
Could they make it any more challenging?
I know, I know.
It's not stopped, but it's not started.
I
It's
know.
somewhere in between. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I
Councillor,
move option one.
are you seconding it? No, so, okay, is there a seconder for it? Okay, it's moved and seconded now. Councillor Bennett,
I
you had
just
a
have
question?
When I looked at that map, I looked at 60 meters isn't that big. And I think if we set this 60 meters, we did it to make sure that the people in that area knew. And because of mail strike, why would we cut it down to only 10 people? Why don't we just do 10 people all the time? I don't think we should. I think we should leave it at 60 meters. And if we have to deliver 15 letters instead of 5, that's not that much more. If it was 100 letters versus 5, I could see it, but it doesn't seem very.
It was quite a change, wasn't it, from the 60
Mm.
down to, yeah, the immediate
really.
ones. My
There's-
concern with that one is the people that are across the back alley, they're close, but they're not included. So yeah, I kind of agree with you there. So, but at this point, it has been moved and seconded that we go with the, that this amendment bylaw be read a first, second, and third time. So are we, any other questions or concerns, or are we going to vote on this? You look puzzled. Do you have a question? No, it's not. All right, so I'll call a question. All in favor? Against? Well, is there any, that's carried, is there any option for us to, if need be, add letters, or are we stuck with just doing it that way? I'm not asking Chris, I'm just
It's
asking.
only if the postal's on strike though, otherwise
Yeah.
it stays status quo.
Yes, that's true. Maybe the postal strike will be over soon. Yeah, let's hope so, eh? There's too many other things on. Okay, thank you very much. And we will now move on to the proposed amendment to the delegation of authority bylaw. And Miss Shannon. Oh, it's you, Chris? I wasn't sure. Looked like Shannon was getting ready.
I thought I
Go
was off the
ahead.
hook. Okay, so this is another obscure one, but it is one that comes up on occasion. I'll just jump into it where under the Strata Property Act, there's an existing building that has been constructed and the property owner is desirous of stratifying it, even though it's potentially been completed a year, 5 years, 10 years in the past, has been occupied. They still want to go through with that stratification process. And so in those situations, there's a decision that needs to be made by council, but as we were previously talking about with the other delegation item, council can delegate that authority for these strata conversions of previously occupied buildings to a staff level. And I think a lot of the same rationale applies here in terms of just facilitating the subdivision process and this being more of a technical exercise. I think the primary consideration, and then I'm sorry, I'm disregarding my slides here and jumping ahead, but with the strata title conversion of the existing building, it's a little bit different if you think about somebody stratifying a new build. It's been built to code, everything is new, it's up to standard, probably not too many issues for future tenants. But if you're dealing with a building that's 10, 20, 30 years old, you don't know what state it's in. And I think the biggest consideration with the strata conversion of an existing building is that building code compliance and what kind of upgrades are required and what are the costs going to be. And just to help people understand, what needs to be done if they want to actually proceed with this type of subdivision. So it's one that has a strong role for the building inspector. Potentially not really something I think that would rise to the importance of having council look at it on a regular basis. But I say that recognizing that these are very irregular, uncommon applications. I think you can see here on the second dot point, the town's only had 3 such applications since 2000 when the legislation was amended. Interestingly, though, the land use procedures bylaw does have a fee for these applications, but it doesn't establish any processing procedures. So in terms of in terms of considerations for council, and I probably just touched on all these, streamlining technical process, council might just wish to push this onto staff to deal with. But as with the other one, conversely, it gives council a chance to look at these, apply a different lens than staff might, and retain that ability. Sorry if I'm jumping around here, but just to sum it up, again, typical options for second, third reading or status quo. Staff do feel that there's a benefit to council considering delegating this, so we are recommending that the bylaw be given readings, but we'll take direction from you on that. So thank you.
Thank you. Council, what are your thoughts on this one? Councillor Bennett.
I'll move option 1.
Thank you. It's seconded by Councillor Poderica. Are there any questions, concerns about this? The approving officer is gonna have a lot more work. That's okay. So all in favor of option 1? Thank you very much. That's carried. All right, we're moving on to the near market affordable housing program, housing agreement, Southeast Meadowlark Phase 2. Shannon.
Yes, this one actually is me. So no formal presentation, just a quick summary since it's been about a month. So this item is a follow-up from the September 9th council meeting, and it relates to a proposed housing agreement that would be applicable to Lot 25, which is located in Phase 2 of the Meadowlark development. So at its meeting of September 9th, council did resolve to give first, second, and third readings to housing agreement amendment bylaw number 1343.04. And if adopted, this bylaw would allow the town to enter into the proposed housing agreement for that lot. Council is also being asked to consider whether to, so council is currently being asked whether to consider adopting the amendment bylaw as proposed, and we are recommending that the bylaw be adopted. However, just as a follow-up from that September 9th council meeting, as council may recall, there is a no sale covenant that's currently registered on lot 4 within phase 2 of that development. The intention of that no sale covenant was to defer the registration of a housing agreement to allow for the subdivision of phase 2 to proceed. And now that the subdivision has been completed and a housing agreement would be registered against lot 25, we are further recommending that that no sale covenant that is registered against lot 4 be discharged at the same time that the housing agreement be registered against lot 25. That's it.
Thank you very much. We remember that one, and this, we have had the meeting on September the 9th. We gave approval to the first, second, and third readings of this amendment bylaw, and today we're looking for adoption. Go ahead.
Just a question. With the statutory no sale covenant being removed, what's the timeline on that? Would it be immediate?
Go ahead, Shannon.
I think this really depends on the land title office and how quickly they can process the documents. So essentially what would happen is if council is supportive of adopting the amendment bylaw, we would quickly follow up with the property owner, get all the necessary signatures in place, and then they would have to follow up with their solicitor to work with land titles to register the housing agreement and also prepare the documents to discharge that covenant. So sometimes it takes a few weeks.
As a follow-up, my understanding is there is an impending sale on one of the lots, that lot in particular. Is there a way to expedite this process to have it done as soon as possible?
I mean, certainly from a staff perspective, we can work with the applicant and just let them know immediately after the council meeting, if council is supportive, to just let them know to get the ball rolling with the process. We can move quickly on that, but we can't, unfortunately we can't control how quickly land titles actually can work to get it processed.
With that said, I would move option 1, but would like to add that staff prioritize the removal of the no sale covenant to ensure expedient, I guess, processing of the sale. My language can be very off, but something along the lines of that.
In other words, notify the owner of the property immediately to get.
Yes, to get the ball rolling.
They would have to do it, or is it planners that, is it staff that does it, or is it the owner that does it? So the owner's responsible for contacting his lawyer. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so it's been, who moved that? You did? Is there a seconder? Councillor King. So that the housing bylaw, or the housing agreement amendment bylaw be adopted, and that the statutory no sale covenant registered be discharged as quickly as possible. Am I okay with that? All right, all in favor. Thank you very much. All right, next is the land use procedures amendment bylaw notification signs. Is
Thank
that
you.
Shannon?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
So this item is another follow-up from the September 9th council meeting. This item particularly relates to the proposed amendments to the land use procedures bylaw, and those amendments seek to streamline the notification signage requirements that are associated with bylaw amendment applications. So council had at its last meeting given first, second, and third readings to land use procedures amendment bylaw number 1235.11. If adopted, on-site notification signs would only be required in relation to bylaw amendment applications where there is a public hearing required under the Local Government Act. And then where required, notification signs would be required to be posted prior to the submission of a bylaw amendment application being submitted to the town. And amendments also include changes to sign specification information requirements to simplify those signs. So at this time, we are asking council whether they wish to adopt the amendment bylaw, and our administrative recommendation is that the bylaw be adopted.
Thank you very much. Council. Councillor Poderica.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move for adoption.
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Chong seconding that. All in favor. Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to zoning bylaw amendment at 6802 85th Street. And who's taking this one?
I think I actually have the remainder of the items on the agenda.
Okay, all righty. Thank you.
So yes, this item is another follow-up from the September 9th meeting. It relates to a proposal to rezone the property at 6802 85th Street from medium density residential 1, so the RM1 zone, to medium density residential 1 site specific, or the RM1S zone. And that site specific provision would be to increase the maximum permitted density from 75 dwelling units per hectare to 80 dwelling units per hectare. At its last meeting, council did give first, second, and third readings to zoning amendment bylaw number 1395.08. And if adopted, the property would be permitted to be developed to a total of 6 dwelling units in total. We are recommending that this bylaw be adopted. Again, we are asking whether council wishes to support the amendment bylaw in this case.
Thank you very much. And I certainly understand that we gave first, second, and third reading. I guess the letters that are included in this, and there's 2 of them, bring up an interesting point. Partly, I think it is not only invasive trees, which tree of heaven, which certainly should be dealt with, but also I think there was parking issues. And I'm not sure from the, and I know I asked this question before, but I'm still kind of confused about where the 6 units are going to park and how they're going to get out onto the egress, the property onto the road, and what happens when there's a lot of people at a concert or something at the Sonora Center. I'm just concerned that it doesn't really show where the parking is or how people who live there would get out. Is that something that it's just something that I don't think has been explained well enough? Is there anything that you could add to that?
As part of our preliminary review process for rezoning applications, we do take that opportunity to review, especially in the cases where you have increases in density being proposed, ensuring that enough parking is being provided in accordance with the zoning bylaw. So that is one of the many things that we do check when reviewing these.
So you're comfortable that that has been dealt with? Because I don't see it on the pictures, on the maps that we have, that's all.
Yes, and it looks like it wasn't included in the report itself, but it is available, site plan is available online with the parking specifications.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councillor
Quick question. I guess all the pictures show 5, kind of 5, and now you're talking 6. Where would the 6th one go?
At the last meeting that we discussed it, yeah, I think you were online, that's why. And it's in the basement. Yeah.
Down here?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it's just added one there. Yeah. So I'm all right as long as I can agree that that's been looked at, because it doesn't seem obvious on the drawings that we have. Go ahead.
I guess the other question, where does it show the parking? Like those lots are right at the front, just about right on the street. So where are they proposing to park?
Yeah.
So
What we need.
as part of the application submission, so this has been online following the original preparation of the application, but the parking is being proposed on the eastern side of the parcel, as I understand it. And then access would be from 68th or from 70th Avenue.
And you feel comfortable? There's room for 6 cars? Like that would be a minimum.
Yes, the applicant has shown on their site plan that they'd be able to fit those 6 parking stalls.
Don't they need 1.3 or something per apartment? So wouldn't they need 7?
So in
I
this
don't know.
case, they are located in the area that is outlined in the zoning bylaw for parking exemptions, but it's really a reduced parking allowance in that downtown core area where they can have one
Wow.
parking space per dwelling unit.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of agree. I think that the pictures don't show that. However, if that's the case, then do you see it?
I see the site plan now.
Okay. And it
yes.
shows the parking?
Yeah.
Good.
What picture are you?
It's on the planning site. Just, sorry, question.
Yes,
Your
go
Worship,
ahead.
through to planning staff. Just because it's kind of hard to see in the detail here, the existing sidewalk, is that being proposed to be removed or reconfigured? I know there's just some concern there with, it currently sits pretty flat. And there's a lot of pedestrian traffic in that area, and obviously the way the parking in the site plan, I do see they kind of sit central to the eastern side. Stacked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm just wondering if there's any changes to that existing, just because the current parking is, there's a lot, there's a sidewalk, and then there's the existing boulevard where the previous parking kind of sat on that side. I'm just wondering if that's being removed or relocated to accommodate that, as well as pedestrian safety in that area.
Go ahead, Chris, if you've got an answer.
So it's not usually a level of detail we get into as part of a rezoning application. And my understanding is that generally the sidewalks, well, should be on public land. They shouldn't be occurring on privately held land. And if the adjacent property owner wants to make changes to that basic town infrastructure in order to facilitate their parking by either having it drop down so the cars can get over, that would be a discussion that they would be having with your operations staff. And I believe that the property owner, the adjacent property owner, would be on the hook for any damage that might be done to town infrastructure as part of the development of the site, or any changes that might be required in order to facilitate this vehicle access to the property. But again, because it's not something that we deal with at the rezoning application, I don't have the details at my fingertips, and I'm not sure if operations would be able to obviously speak to that today or get that information to council at a later date. Or
I'm just concerning about adopting it if we really still have a couple of things that that aren't quite explained here. And I do think that the parking issue and how people get on and off the property is certainly an issue, and it's been pointed out in some of the letters too. Do you have any suggestions, Mr. Risling?
Your worship, no, I'm assuming it went through operations staff and they thought basically everything's okay. I think the other issue is that regardless of what the access is or where the yellow line is, or you can't park, I mean, that's, people do what they do.
I know.
Unfortunately.
So,
Most of the parking is underground.
and it's not, in this case, it's not underground. Yeah. There's storage underground is my understanding, and one apartment underground, but there's no parking underground. So it has to be accommodated on the lot.
Page 209, it shows the,
Look, turn on your,
yeah, on page 209 of 279, whatever it is, they show a picture of the side of the building with the garage doors going to the underground parking.
That is just storage.
that is just storage under there. They pointed that out the last time. So there, go ahead, do you have
Your
any?
Worship.
Yeah.
Yeah, just based on the site plan, and of course it's shows it off right now based on the fact that the front end's fairly unfinished right now, where you just see the
Yes.
foundation. But it'd be roughly, if you're looking at the frontage as indicated on page 203, the parking on the site plan looks to be 6 units side by side. Roughly between the second unit from roughly between the two gray portions as it's being proposed with 6 stalls. So my concern here obviously is you have a sidewalk now in the middle, the existing boulevard, which previously had parking. If either the sidewalk, and you're losing a lot of depth in there for the vehicles, so either the sidewalk's being relocated, or we're gonna have parking issues based on the fact that now you've got a boulevard, let's say, not much of a boulevard between
Yeah.
there and the roadway itself there. I'm not sure that's been addressed. previously.
The other thing I'm concerned about is that's, you know, the Sonora Center and the school right there as well. And I'm thinking that there would be a lot of people walking along there at any time various times during the day. I'm concerned about this one, and I think we need to maybe look at a better explanation of what should be there and where the parking is. I'd like to see a picture with the cars on it and what the sidewalk and so on is going to look like.
I agree with that. Mr. Clarity, the parking was kind of come off 70th.
80.
Sorry, 85th.
There's no way.
So how can we deal with this rather than adopting it? What's another option that we could use for this and ask for more information? Mrs. Coulson?
Send it back to staff.
Yeah, exactly. Your worship, you could move a motion to postpone pending further information on the parking and the configuration of the sidewalk.
How are we gonna park there?
So, council, what is your wish on this one? Are we okay with it, or do we wish more information?
I think, Your Worship, I move that we send this back to staff for some follow-up and just hopefully some better diagram.
Yes.
I know the one that's in part of the application from the original proponent is pretty is lacking a lot of detail. The way it shows based on the site plan proposed is pretty much that the parking itself runs but up against 85th. There's no indication of any sidewalk servicing in that area. So I'm not sure, like, again, if that's being removed or if we're removing the boulevard parking that, let's call it boulevard parking, that currently exists on this between the sidewalk and the current 85th configuration. But just noting the fact that its location near the Sonora Community Center, the school, I just think that we just need some better detail as to how these 6 slots are going to fit on site on the property on the current site plan that's been presented.
Thank you. And Councillor King, are you seconding that? Any other questions? Any other concerns? So did you get that as a motion?
Yeah, and
Thank you.
with the postpone, you have to have a dependent thing you're postponing for. So I'll add the issue of the parking and the sidewalk.
Thank you. Okay, so I will call the question on that postponing. All in favor? Thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Next is the land use bylaw amendment, short-term rental regulation review. Shannon.
Yes, so this item relates to proposed amendments to the town's OCP zoning, municipal ticketing, and bylaw notice enforcement bylaws, which are required in order to implement the proposed short-term rental pilot program. So council had given first and second readings to the amendment bylaws back on August 12th, and a public hearing was subsequently held on September 9th. And then following that hearing, council had resolved to give third reading to those amendment bylaws. Now, as the proposed zoning amendment would impact lands which are within 1 or 800 meters from a controlled access highway, the Ministry of Transportation and Transit approval is required, and that was obtained on September 12th. So at this time, council is being asked to consider whether to adopt OCP Amendment Bylaw number 1375.07, Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1395.04, Municipal Ticketing Information Amendment Bylaw number 1279.25, and Bylaw Notice Enforcement Amendment Bylaw number 1392.01. And we are recommending that the bylaws be adopted as proposed. We are also going to, of course, be asking council to consider additional updates to the business licensing regulations in order to implement the pilot program in full, and that's up for consideration as the next item.
Thank you. Council, are you okay with this one, the adoption of these? Okay, would someone like to move that? Councillor Poderica?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move adoption of 1395.08, 2025.
Thank you. Seconding it, Dr. Chong. All in favor? Thank you very much. Okay, good. So
The intention was there. I was just reading the wrong line. That was the one above.
all right, so we're now going to move on to the business license bylaw, and that's consideration of adoption as well. Business license bylaw number 1400. Shannon?
Yes, so this is follow-up from council's meeting of August 12th, 2025, where council had given first, second, and third readings to business license bylaw number 1400. If adopted, this bylaw would repeal and replace the current business licensing bylaw number 1045. The updated bylaw does reflect updates to the town's zoning regulations after the adoption of zoning bylaw 1395 last year. And the bylaw also includes updated application fees as well as specific business use regulations that pertain to short-term rental accommodations, bed and breakfasts, and mobile vendor operations. And we are recommending that this bylaw be adopted.
Thank you very much. And it was given first, second, and third readings on August the 12th. So, council, somebody like to move this, the adoption of this?
So moved.
Thank you. Councillor Bennett, is there a seconder? Councillor Poderica? Any other questions, concerns? Call the question, all in favor. Thank you very much. And next, the permissive tax exemption bylaw number 1407. Oh, it's Mrs. Keith that has doing this one.
This is just an annual bylaw that comes forward to be renewed at the beginning of every year. It just allows the town to go into borrowing if needed through our line of credit. Oh, sorry, wrong one. This is the permissive tax to our not-for-profit. Again, also an annual we bring forward every year. There were no changes from the prior year, and it needs to be adopted for the end of October.
Thank you very much. And we've looked at this every year. And so we need to give, if possible, receive first, second, and third readings on this. Is there any, Councillor Chong?
I'm just gonna move option 1.
Thank you. Councillor Bennett is seconding that. All in favor? And we're going to have to do adoption at the next meeting and obviously to fit in the timelines.
Correct.
Okay. And the next one is the revenue anticipation borrowing bylaw. Mrs. Keith?
Again, this is an annual bylaw that comes forward for renewal. It allows for 1.5 to meet our expenditures, to pay amounts to meet the municipality's expenditure obligations. Mainly this includes use of our line of credit. Should be noted in 2025, we have not used our line of credit as needed. So it's just to be brought forward and presented to the bank. Again, it is due by the end of the year.
So we're looking for first, second, and third reading on this one as well. Are we, Councillor King, Councillor Chong, all in favor? Thank you. And the next one, oh, Ms. Oshasky, are you going to talk to this one? The neighborhood zero emission vehicles traffic amendment bylaw.
Yeah, it's been a while, so just a quick review. On March 11th, at the Committee of the Whole, meeting to amend the traffic bylaw to permit the use of neighborhood zero emission vehicles, which was identified as the 2025 Council strategic priority. At March 25th, 2025, regular open meeting, the amendment received first 3 readings, was sent to the Ministry of Transportation and Transit for approval on March 31st, and approval was received on September 4th, 2025. Now administration is bringing traffic amendment bylaw number 125604, 2025 forward for adoption.
Thank you very much. And it was first, second, and third reading way back in March. So it's been a while since we've done that. Councillor Chong?
Moving option 1.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Bennett. All in favor? Thank you. All right. And next, the traffic amendment bylaw 1256, consideration for adoption. That's Ms. Sochasky again.
Yes, this one was updates made to both the traffic bylaw and the sidewalk use policy to update the language and make housekeeping amendments. At the June 24th, 2025 regular council meeting, council gave first 3 readings and approved the amended sidewalk policy, PLA 015. The bylaw was sent to the Ministry of Transportation and Transit for approval on July 9th, 2025, and approval was received September 4th. So now administration is bringing traffic amendment bylaw number 125605, 2025 forward for adoption.
Thank you very much. Council, same thing. It was moved in June, this one, so this is a little quicker. Go ahead. Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Chong, all in favor. Thank you very much. And next is new business. Chris and Shannon, you're off the hook, I think. So new business is that council meeting reports for Mayor McCordoff, Councillor Bennett, Councillor Poderica, and Councillor Chong have been put into the agenda. Councillor Chong's was added today. And in the various amounts, Mayor McCordoff 500, Councillor Bennett 600, Councillor Poderica 500, Councillor Chong 600. So could someone, Councillor King, would you like to move? Thank you. And you're seconding it?
Yeah, but I,
Yes.
I believe mine should only be 500. Cause I thought we had a traveling day was a meeting day and I've been advised it isn't, so.
I think maybe this is the concern that what people are including in their days. And I'm wondering if, Mrs. Coulson, do you have any idea what, I mean, we've got two different amounts here. I'm not quite sure how to handle this or whether we just leave it the way it is.
It's council's choice what you do, but it is not too late if Councillor Bennett would like to amend the amount. He can change it to 500 and
Okay,
then they're all the same.
if
Mr. Chung is 600 also. Not all the same.
so we're not all the same. I'm thinking that we could, and the trick is there's the Sunday, which was the travel day, and then there was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I looked at it as starting the meetings on the Monday. However, it all depends on what, and I've never seen anywhere what exactly should be included. So that's why it can be a little bit confusing. What-
To be quite frank, I don't have the policy in front of me, but it's not unusual to allow a per diem for a travel day.
Okay.
I would just leave it as it's presented.
Okay.
They take time to get down there and back, absolutely.
All right. So it's been moved. Councillor King, seconded.
And then I would move that we change it to make Mayor McCordoff as well as Council Puerto Rican in the amount of $600. Just if it's fair. I mean, we should all get paid the same. We all did the same thing.
It might work that way because in fact, we all traveled on those exact same days. So is that a possibility to move it? I wasn't sure when I filled in my form. Go ahead, Councillor Chong.
Just to clarify my rationale for putting the 6 days is even though it was a travel day, we spent a good amount of time strategizing on the week and preparing and making sure that our messaging was congruent. And also, I mean, that prep work is for the purposes of being successful with our minister meetings and everything else we want to achieve that week. So it's not like we traveled and didn't speak to each other at all. Like there was constructive work being done during that day. So that's my personal rationale on it.
I agree with you. I can sort of see it both sides, and that's why I was asking if there is a policy on this, but I think I've seen it like this before where there's been a little bit of discrepancy. So what are you
Your
recommending?
Worship, I just wanted to indicate, I think, like a lot of these travel expenses that come in, council undercharges. I just want to bring that up to the public. I mean, there's lots of times when you folks submit something, and you undercut yourself. So I just wanted to bring that up publicly, because we're talking about $100 here, and I could assure you that the amount of claims that have come in are substantially less than that over the years to what maybe you could be eligible to claim for. So I just want to make that a public statement because people are listening and thinking that, oh, gee, there's $100 here. I can assure the public that every council member here has not claimed all their travel expenses as they could at other events.
Thank you. So it would be my recommendation that we change all four of the figures to $600. Are you all right with that?
I'd just like to add that I'd like to see our administration staff take a look at that policy wording because it's really confusing.
It is confusing. Could we add that to the list then, please? All right, let's change them all to 600 and ask for a policy review on how we deal with that. All in favor? Thank you. All right. And the next part is the report on committee and committee of the whole. So first of all, we're going to do the airport advisory. That is, that was included in this report. And Councillor Poderica, you were at the meeting. Do you have anything to add to it? Or are we just going to receive this for information? It was on July the 4th. Do you have anything to add? Yeah.
Just right here. I was right here. Other than that, the committee met.
Sorry. Oh, okay. You
Right.
got it?
Yeah.
It's right after those
Yeah, right here.
reports.
I'm just
Okay, you
pulling it
got it. Yep.
I also was going somewhere different. Other than that, the committee met, obviously, still working for administration to finalize the airport master plan and the management agreement, subject to ODES's fulfillment of their AGM, which I believe is actually occurring tonight, if I remember right, which would then make them fully up to speed with the Societies Act and moving forward from there. And that's all I had to report.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So could we,
Question.
are you, go ahead. Do you have a question?
I don't really want to put you on the spot. Have they had a meeting since this? Or are you telling me there's one coming up?
The ODES or the advisory committee?
No, the board meeting.
They're having their AGM tonight.
Okay. Okay. So has the code of conduct been passed, or do you know if that's on the agenda tonight?
I'm not too sure. It'd be subject to. I know it's been communicated to their member, to their executive.
So it says business arising from it. Code of conduct is on there. So are you planning to go to the meeting tonight?
Not entirely sure yet.
Okay, I just wondered.
I guess I'd just like to see the updated minutes if the meeting's tonight before we sign any agreement with them.
All we're
To
doing
make-
is accepting this for
right,
information
right,
today
that's
for,
what I
from
missed.
July the 4th. So I'm assuming we should get a meeting, an update from the meeting after it happens. Am I correct?
Okay, that's
Yes.
fine then.
So
Okay.
your worship, what administration plans on doing is once the meeting occurs and they are registered through Victoria, administration will bring forward the agreement for approval at council. So that's the next
Okay,
steps.
that's good. Thank you.
Okay, so could we have a motion then to receive this for information?
So moved.
Councillor King, Councillor Bennett, all in favor. Thank you. All right, now we're going to go on to, from the committee of the whole meeting on October the 14th. It was moved by, Councillor King, seconded by Councillor Chong, that we receive the flood mitigation plan prepared and that the official community plan amendment and zoning. No, do we do those separately? I'm confused because there's a couple of them there. And that the official community plan amendment, mine zoning amendment, land use procedures amendment bylaw be that were prepared, receive them, and that we have those amendment bylaw reports initiated. Is that correct? That's what we did this morning, correct? So we need a mover and a seconder to accept this now. Councillor King, Councillor Chong, all in favor. Thank you. Next one from the Committee of the Whole today, that the Town of Osoyoos Servicing Officer Designation Bylaw number 1406 be initiated, and that we have a motion on that one. Councillor Bennett, Councillor Poderica, all in favor. Thank you. And that the Committee of the Whole recommend that Council approve, where are we? The amended strategic priorities chart with the following changes. Remove RDOS from advocacy. Primary care dialogue renamed the rename the Palms BC Housing to Flexible Municipal Housing Strategy, remove planning number 5 low-speed vehicles, add fencing to the splash park under next, remove medical professionals recruitment and replace with supporting local physicians recruitment working group under advocacy partnerships as contained in attachment 3. And that the committee of the whole recommend the council approve the amended strategic priorities chart as contained in attachment 3. Look, Councillor Chong?
Just a
Yes?
clarification. With the LSV removal, there was a secondary aspect to that point regarding speed limits. I just want to make sure that stays on though, because that hasn't been completed yet.
Was that part of the,
That's correct.
Right.
No, that part is still gonna stay. If, within the report, it's supposed to be just the first part of the second part of that piece deleted.
okay. So are you moving this?
Yes.
Okay, Councillor Poderica seconding, all in favor. Thank you. And the next one, that the committee of the whole recommend that council approve the infrastructure strategy as contained in attachment 2. Councillor King, Councillor Bennett, all in favor. Thank you. Wow, that was a lot of, look at all the tabs that I've got in here to go from one meeting to the next or one issue to the next. All right, we're going to go back to the report from the Chief Administrative Officer.
Thank you, Your Worship. It has been a while since a council meeting. That's why I think the agenda was fairly full. I do have a few items to, I guess, talk about that occurred over the past month, as well as a few things coming up. Kingsman Park, it's a capital item. I just wanted to bring forward to council that that project is underway. There is some equipment out there, and so hopefully within the next couple of weeks here, we'll have an upgrade to our playground. Desert Park, unfortunately, I don't have an update on that building. We have engaged the services of a structural engineer that's going to be doing a second follow-up study on that building. So hopefully we can get some news quickly and what the potential cost may be to repair that building. The annual pass sale at Community Services was held September 10th to 17th, and we had 287 passes that were sold. A lot of events have occurred over the past month. Some of them include the Terry Fox Run. They raised over $4,000 and there are 45 participants. I'm not going to talk about the community barbecue because I think somebody around here will talk about it. TGIF movie nights, October 3rd, there were about 36 participants. Just want to reiterate that Seniors and Tots and Shinny and Public Skating is being offered free of charge weekly. And again, thanks to the Rotary Club for that. And I'm going to talk about figure skating here. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because they still looking for a few more children in order to fill up their classes. So I put a little bit of a shout there on that. The Canucks alumni versus Soyuz All-Stars was a pretty big hit. Drew a crowd of nearly 600 people. Soyuz Curling Club has completed their registrations, but they're also looking for members. So I'm just putting a little bit of a shout out there for anybody that wants to take part in curling. And from Capital Projects, the reverse osmosis system has arrived and is in the process of being installed. And basically what that does is enables cooler, we can raise our ice temperatures. So that actually reduces our overall electricity bills. And I think the good thing here is that Fortis contributed $37,000 to that project. So done a lot of work in that building to attempt to keep lower costs, or at least keep them the same with all the escalations. At least if we can stay the same, that's a good news story. From Corporate Planning, Development Services, bylaw officers, doing some things with regards to unsightlies, and dogs are starting to become an issue again. So there's dogs barking and a few getting out. So just again, if you're a dog owner, try to address those things. It takes a lot of our bylaw time to address those issues. A couple of new businesses, Hollywood Nails and Spa and H Beauty by Hannah. Change in business ownership, Holiday Inn and Suites. And there was one stop work order issued. We have From the fire department's perspective, they were busy the past month. There's a live fire training thing that goes on in Penticton, and it's an annual skills training type exercise. And so our folks, most of them attended, and they really enjoyed that. They had 5 members complete the annual 9/11 stairs climb at the fire hall, and that's commemorating September 11th. And one of our female firefighters attended Camp Ignite in Vancouver, and they go there to be the mentors of a younger potential firefighter. And also there was Fire Prevention Week, October 5th to 11th. They also attended the elementary school and taught people about fire safety. Grades 4 and 7 actually got a little bit more. They talked about fire safety, but also home and battery safety. With all these batteries coming out, you're hearing more and more fires occurring. These lithium batteries have a lot more punch to them, and so a lot more preventive measures can take place. And they attended the open house at the CSU Daycare Center. From an operations perspective, the water meter project continues, getting closer to the end. We have about 140, 120 pits, no, probably 120 pits left. And we have the 12 vaults. Vaults are the bigger meter pits for the strata condo complexes. They're going to likely start either the end of this week or next week. And about 40 more complex properties left. So these are properties that are going to be in-house installs, but they're not simple ones. And so trying to get things done prior to year end really depends on the weather. And so we'll see how things go there. I want to thank everybody for their cooperation on this. And some of our capital projects were completed. Magnolia Place has got some nice pavement there. So that was a big project, and that's completed. Just want to maybe also on the water plant. I know we haven't come forward for a while on that. I want to assure council and the public there's still a lot of things going on. We have a pilot plant that has been up and running for several weeks now, and the importance of that plant is to do a better testing of this lake water or surface water to ensure that when the plant is engineered, it's actually capturing the proper elements required to treat that water. There's we've also applied for a water license amendment. So as you know, we're going to be taking water from the lake, and in doing so, we have to register some paperwork with the Water Resource and Land Stewardship Ministry to adjust our water license. Since that's been completed, and we're working with provincial staff on that. Yeah, and obviously we're applying for grants. There have only been a couple of them out there. One we submitted back in January. We're not sure when that's going to be announced, but we're hoping sooner rather than later, at least know whether we're in or out. And then we also applied just a couple of weeks ago for a smaller grant. It wouldn't be for the entire water plant. It would be for the water intake. So it'd be for that portion of the project only. And the reason why we only did that is because there's a maximum $7 million on that grant. So we split up the project for the water intake. So hopefully we'll get lucky on one of those two or both. And then some other good news, I guess. We've got some staffing changes. One of our own, Lauren Oshasky, is now our communications person, although not completely now, probably in about 3 weeks-ish. I think you're still wearing 2 hats. So hopefully in a couple weeks or 3 weeks, we'll actually get some additional communication support, which is desperately needed. And Jillian Abney joined us last week in the Public Works Department. So she's a welcome addition. She's the Deputy Director of Operations, and welcome her very much. That position has been vacant for almost 1.5 years. So it's great to have her on board, and yeah, we're looking forward to filling some of those seats. So that concludes my report. Available for any questions.
Thank you very much. And I would like a motion, please, to accept the CAO report for information. Counselor King, Counselor Poderica, all in favor. Thank you. Now, council reports. Counselor King.
I'll pass.
All right, Counselor Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. King, I got lots for you. September 7th, I attended South Okanagan Chamber of Commerce, their monthly get together, and then September 21st, 27 for UBCM, and I could talk for a couple hours on that, but I'm just going to mention it was 6 days of lectures, seminars, and forums. We had a meeting with 3 cabinet ministers in the Parliament buildings. And I felt all 3 meetings were very productive as the province was starting to realize there is only a small population of a little over 5,000 taxpayers trying to pay for services for 15,000, 20,000 people in 4 or 5 months of the year. And we have to continue to make them realize that Soyuz brings millions of dollars from Soyuz into the provincial coffers. So we need help to balance the books to provide the services for the overpopulation in those months. So I think there was really good meetings. I think all the council and our CEO brought that forward, and I'm sure there'd be more in the other reports from the other councillors. Then October 3rd, I had a meeting with the Ministry of Transportation and the area manager about the trails. October 6th, another meeting with the trails for our monthly meeting. And our AGM for the trails is coming up on West Bank on October 25th at 1 o'clock in the new library. And that's my report.
Thank you very much. Counselor Chung.
At the risk of being an echo, so UBCM attended with rest of council, Councilor Poderica, Mayor, and Councilor Bennett. Just to list out what seminars, that's a sample of what I attended. I attended the basically building and supporting healthcare seminar, affordable housing seminar, with a lot of really interesting, unique approaches to approaching housing. For example, CEO of Crescent was one of the panelists, and he spoke about how they created a development corporation which allowed for more ease of development. Well, I think we at one point all sat through some of the resolutions, which was fun. And then Cabinet Hall with Minister of Health, Municipal Affairs and Transport, and then Strengthening Wildfire Resilience Workshop. And I was also treated with a tour of the Legislative Assembly with the Minister of Tourism, which was really nice to have kind of informal conversation, touching on RMI and limits and funding, et cetera. In addition, we all had our minister meetings. So Minister of Public Safety, Waterland, Resource Stewardship, Walrus, I got it right, okay. And Minister of Municipal Affairs, which is the big one with the grant funding with our water treatment plant. So to echo Councillor Bennett's remarks, I believe they were successful. But again, I had asked the Minister of Municipal Affairs to bring her checkbook, but she did not. So we will see soon enough. I also told her we took all major credit cards, but not yet. We'll see. I'm hoping we hear back soon. But that concludes my council report.
Thank you very much, Counselor Chung. Counselor Poderica.
Thank you, Your Worship. September was a busy month for the acting mayor. September 10th, DL board meeting, as well as the physician recruitment reception in Oliver. September 17th, attended the South Carolina Smoking Medical Foundation's launch of their South Carolina General Hospital campaign, which is pretty exciting. Obviously, South Carolina General Hospital is a routine victim to closures, mostly related to staffing issues, and so there's a $2 million campaign right now. First off, aimed at providing $300,000 towards the proposed medical staff housing project, as well as upgrades to finally provide digital x-ray services at Oliver. Oliver, I believe, is the last or second last hospital in Interior Health that still uses non-digital x-ray. South Carolina General Hospital, as well as the introduction of portable ultrasound for the first time. Right now, I believe the number is over 2,000 or 3,000 transfers last year out of SOGH to Penticton just for ultrasound services. So They figure with the introduction of ultrasound at SOGH, they'd be able to do about 2,400 scans a year. So that's a good start, and obviously reduces a lot of unnecessary transfers up to parents Penticton. September 19th, attend the community barbecue. Thanks to Community Services Fire Department and the CAO for helping cook, as well as Strike Alarms for help sponsoring the movie event. And they had a good time. Brought some snacks and candy and some, I think, glow sticks for the kids, and it was a really good event. UBCM, of course, the 22nd to the 26th. I want to thank Ministers Krieger, Boyle, and Neal, as well as our MLA, Emily Wilson, for attending. I think she attended 2 of our meetings, which is pretty good when she's got as many communities as she does, as well as for her tour for us of the legislature. But again, really good conversation with those ministers as well as others. Pleading our case for obviously more funding, but and some support moving forward. September 27th, attended and Keep Sellers fundraiser for Indian Residential School Survivors Society. October 1st, attended the UC's Tourism Master Plan Task Force. And then the next day, my final one here, October 2nd, myself and the mayor and the CEO attended Cedar Lane's affordable housing project grand opening, which I believe provides 42 or 41 affordable housing units on the OIB lands. It is obviously something that is well needed in this community, and had the opportunity to tour the facility afterwards, and it's going to be a great addition to the community. Their community is excited, our community is excited. The residents that are moving in that have so far applied and have been successful are looking forward to moving in there, and I know there's still some space available, and hopefully it's the start of many other affordable housing projects to come. And that's my report.
Thank you very much. So I won't try and repeat a lot of the things that have been mentioned, but first of all, I'd just like to say that October is Domestic Violence Month, or, Domestic Violence Information Month. And I know that the Desert Sun Counseling has done quite a lot of work on this, and they were asked if we would mention it here, so we are. And the other thing is that October is Foster Family Month, and there are a lot of families and foster caregivers in our area that do a wonderful job of helping on an ad hoc basis, and some of them that I've known over the years have taken in foster children and they become part of their family. So, kudos to all of the people that help out with foster care. So a couple of other things. Obviously, I was at the UBCM and the ministers' meetings as well. I also attended with the CAO to the RMI, the Resort Collaborative, Community Collaborative meeting with our tourism minister, and it's Minister Kang, and she's very aware of what happens in small towns and certainly in communities that have that are resort communities that have a lot of tourists. So she was very attentive because this is a new portfolio for her, but her staff have been there for many years. So it's very encouraging to go in and talk, even though the minister could be different, the staff are there and they have the background and they understand. So they work very well together. I also met with the Minister of Agriculture, and interesting that some of the communities that were there, it was if you had agricultural land within your municipality, and looking at our map, we do have a fair amount of it, more than we think. But in Pitt Meadows, which is down in the Fraser Valley, 93% of their property is in agricultural land, and that provides 3% of their tax base. So they're really have a difficult time, and that's why the agriculture minister was listening to all the stories all across the country. I also met, as you know, I've been on the Border Mayors Alliance for the last 6 months, and when I was in Victoria, I met with one of the individuals who came out from Toronto from Crestview Strategies to talk about what they're doing, and was interested in the story about Asuias and telling us about what they could do. And we're not quite sure because, of course, the tariffs are still front and center. New tariff announced today. But I think that that we're kind of at leveling off for now, and I'm not sure how many more meetings there will be, but I did send out to council the sort of report that they'd put together after 6 months. It was about a week ago. I sent it out to you too. So that was interesting. I was also for a couple of days in September at the International Asuias Lake Board of Control, because we have our annual meeting here, talking about fish flows, concerns, warm water, drought conditions, all those things. And we did have the annual meeting as well. These are people from on this board that come from Seattle, Tacoma, Vancouver, Washington, D.C., several places in the States, plus Ottawa. And so we all meet once a year and talk about this, what we can do for Asuias Lake, and the IJC, International Joint Commission, looks at properties, water bodies that are straddle both sides of the border all the way across Canada. So it's an interesting one to be on. I've been at several regional district meetings since the last time we've met as well. September the 18th and October the 2nd, most recently, talking about short-term rentals. Always there's water issues on the agenda. And I believe that meeting, the directors went and visited the Okanagan Lake Dam salmon passage, and I wasn't at that one in person, but I did go last week after the Okanagan Basin Water Board meeting was held in Penticton. And we did go on a dam tour, and we had somebody showing us the fish passage and the cameras. It's fascinating. It's quite new. And you can go, if you know where the dam is at the south end of Okanagan Lake, it's right beside it. So you don't need somebody there to help you, but it's interesting to have somebody explain. And they showed there's a camera there, and you can actually go on and see the fish going up, and they can count them. And there have been some salmon going through there, which is a good thing, because it was very difficult for many years for them, despite the fact that the water in Asuias Lake that they have to travel through is warm, and there's a drought condition. But there were some fish, some salmon, some trout, and an otter went through, turned, looked at the camera, and then went back out again. So it was quite funny to watch that. That was interesting. And after that meeting, I went to the Tourism Industry Association meeting, which happened in Penticton at the same time. So I was able to go. And most of the people had to do with tourism in the regional district in the Okanagan. But Mayor Coyne from Princeton and I were there as two of the elected officials, and so we filled them in on a few things, because they were quite concerned that the tourism minister had changed 3 times. And we said, don't worry. This one that we have now, Minister Kang, understands the situation well, so you'll be okay with that. What else? Oh, I met certainly with the medical students, with Director Councillor Chong and Councillor Poderica as well. And we met them in Penticton, and they're doing a 6-month residency here, several of them in various capacities, which is great. I also met with Dr. Neil Facina one day, and he is the president of Okanagan College. A very, very interesting man. He is trying to, and it goes from Asuias all the way up to Golden, I think, the Okanagan College. his idea was to try and encourage more people to take college courses. And his motto is anyone, anywhere, anytime. So he was wanting to offer a lot more courses that would be online for people perhaps that were in their 30s, maybe had a job, had a family, had a mortgage, and needed time in order to do some upgrades. A really interesting man. I enjoyed meeting with him. And I also met with the other day with the new medical health officer, Dr. Mohammed Makaram, and he has just accepted the job. He's in Kelowna, but he looks after sort of public health up and down the valley. And Courtney Zimmerman, who works for IH in water and food and grew up here and lives here, was also with them. So that was interesting. One of the things we talked about was I asked him what he thought about the concern over inoculations, and he said that he was quite concerned that there were certainly kids that had died in Canada recently because they hadn't had a measles vaccine. And he was encouraging people to do that and mentioned that COVID vaccines and flu vaccines were going to be available. About 2 days later, I got a notification from IH to do that. So I'm glad that this is the time of year when we need to be doing that. He seems very interesting. He has young children. He lives in Kelowna, but he's taken quite an interest in interior health and the medical health all the way down here. I also went to attended the Suez Elementary School on Truth and Reconciliation Day on September the 29th, and talked to, they asked for my point of view. All the kids from the elementary school and the high school were there, and there was 4 or 5 speakers there, so I was happy to do that from my perspective as a teacher. Went to the 3rd annual fundraiser for the residential school survivors, and also went to the opening of the new apartment block that OIB and the Ministry of Housing were doing. And I think, I know, the DNA, I was going to tell you that at the last Okanagan Basin Water Board meeting, the OBWB has awarded some money to a UBCO Dr. Russello, who is looking at doing a rapid eDNA detection tool for invasive mussel biosecurity. Apparently, the organisms shed genetic material into their environment, and the material accumulates, and it's like a sniffer dog, but it's not a dog, it's another tool. And so the OBWB has given them some money for the next 2 years to go ahead with this, and it sounds quite interesting. So, we still continue, OBWB, to write letters concerning the possibility of having invasive mussels and so on in. So I've been at quite a few meetings recently, and certainly enjoyed all of them, and it's been 5 weeks or something since we got the last report. So that's why I have so many things on my agenda. Anyway, that's all that I had for today, and so I will ask.
For termination.
And seconded the termination. All in favor?